Take a moment and think about your morning. What is the first thing you do when you wake up? Do you check your phone, stretch your body, or maybe make a cup of coffee? For many people around the world, coffee is not just a drink, it's a daily friend, a warm start, and a little spark when it wakes the mind. Every single day, people drink more than 2 billion cups of coffee. That means, and almost every moment, someone, somewhere is holding a warm cup. Coffee gives us energies, but it also gives us time. Time to think, to talk, and to dream. It connects people in small cafes, busy offices, and quiet homes. It has become the second most traded product in the world after oil. Wars don't follow ever. Empires grew rich from it, and revolutions were born beside it. But here's the strange part. The inventions of coffee, the ways we roast, grind, and brew it, is never planned. It was not discovered by a king or a scientist. It began with the brief dance of ghosts and a curious man in the highlands of Ethiopia. Yes, ghosts, and the death accident which changed human history forever. So today, let's go back in time. Let's discover how one small red berry became the world's favorite drink. This is not just stories about coffee. It's a story about curiosity, mistakes, and the magics of human discovery. So sit back, relax, and maybe you can take a sip from your own cup. This is the accidental majesty of coffee. Before coffee came into the world, life is very different. People work with the sun and rest with the moon. There's no weak ways to stay awake, no easy way to feel alert. When the night came, people grew tired and stopped working. The common drink of time is simple: water, milk, and wine. Water was not always clean. Meals worked weekly. Wine and beer were everywhere, even breakfast. They help people relax, but they also make people sleepy and slow. There were no drink would keep people awake and focused. In the deserts in South Arabia and North Africa, life is hard. Days were hard, nights were long. The work never ended. Traders, travelers, and students often stay awake late into the night. For some, like Sufi monk, staying awake from a prayer. They want to speak with God in the quiet hours of darkness, but they needed help. They needed something to keep their eyes open. And at times, people already knew about small red berries that grew on white shrubs. Some people ate them raw for energy. Others mixed them with animal fat to make a food ball for long journeys. But no one felt the small seed inside, what we call a coffee bean, could change the world. It was just another plant in the forest, nothing special, nothing important. Humanity is waiting for something new, something that could be keep body calm, but the mind alive. They needed a drink that could focus without drunkenness, energies without chaos. It just needed one person to notice, one curiosity to see what others ignore. Our stories begin in the green highlands of Ethiopia more than 1,000 years ago. There lived a young girl named Kali. He was a simple man. Every day he took a ghost to the hills to eat and play. He loved his animals and knew them well. But one day, he noticed something strange. His goats were jumping and running wildly. They looked so happy and full of energy. Cody was surprised. They'd never behaved before. He followed them and saw they were eating small berries from a dark green bush. Curious, Cody picked some berries and tasted them himself. Soon he felt awake, excited, and full of life. Cody thought, these berries are special. They give strength and joy. He wanted to share his discovery, so he took the berries to the nearby monastery. There he met a monk and told him what happened. But the monk was afraid. He said the berries were the work of the devil and threw them into the fire. Then something amazing happened. As the berries burned, the rich and beautiful smell filled the room. The monks were surprised by the sweet, warm scent. They pulled up the roasted seeds on the fire and crushed them. They mixed them powder with hot water. That night, the monk drank the new dark drink and stayed awake to the prayers. That was the first cup of coffee. It was born not from science or invention, but from accidents and curiosity. Coffee's ghost started it. It frightened its monk continued it. And the simple mistakes create something that will change the world. Sometimes, the greatest discoveries begin with an open mind and small, curious heart. The story of coffee and monks was only the beginning, but coffee's real journey, the one of shape of the world, began hundreds of years later. A little beings traveled across the Red Sea from Ethiopia to Yemen. There, in the 1400s, coffee found its true home. In Yemen, a group of holy men called Sufis began to use coffee. They need something to help them stay awake during long nights of prayer. They discovered that when the beans were roasted and brewed, the drink became stronger and more delicious. They gave them energy, focus, and peace. At first, they didn't have a machine or tools. They roasted beans in small metal pans over an open fire. They listened carefully to the tiny crackling sound. They smelled the air to know when to roast and perfect. It was art, not science. A patient process made by heart and hand. Sometimes beans burned. Sometimes the words were too bitter, too weak. But the Sufis didn't stop. They kept trying, again. It's very mistakes, they learned something new. They discovered the longer the roast, the deeper the flavor. That heat could unlock the heart of the bean. Soon, words of the drink spread beyond the monasteries. Traders, travelers, and scholars began to try it. They called it kahwa, meaning the drink gives strength. People drank to study, to pray, to work, and simply to feel alive. For the first time, they were drinking the sharpened the mind instead of dulling it. The drink became part of their spiritual life, and then their daily life. A small clay pots over on open fires. People began brewing coffee everywhere, at home, in markets, and in mosques. It was no longer just discovery. It had become a tradition, ritual, a way to share a time and conversation. The journey of coffee was a journey of patience and faith. No one invented in the lab. It was shaped by centuries of small experiments and quiet devotion. The monks and Sufis only want to stay awake to pray, but in doing so, they awakened the world. For centuries, coffee was a drink of monks and mystics, but one day, something changed. Coffee left the quiet walls of the monasteries and entered the busy streets of the city. It was no longer a drink for prayers, it became a drink for people. In the 1500s, coffee reached the city of Mecca, one of the great centers of the Islamic world. People left the taste, the warmth, and the energies it gave. Soon, small places on the open could gather, sit together, and drink. This was the world's first coffee house. Inside these places, the air was full of conversation and laughter. The smell of coffee mixed with the sounds of music and debate. People talk about business, poetry, and politics. They played games, told stories, and shared dreams. The coffee house became a new kind of space, open to ideas, open to people. One writer at the time said, "In Mecca, people drink a quaver and gather in the great numbers. They talk of their fears and stay awake without distress." It was true. Coffee gave people power to stay awake, but also to think, to imagine, to create. This was a real breakthrough. Coffee was no longer just a drink. It was a movement. It would change how people work, how they met, and how they shared their ideas. and those small rooms filled with laughter and aroma, modern societies began to take shape. Every great invention meets fear, and coffee was no longer different. When it first spread across cities, not everyone was happy. Some leaders, priests, and kings saw an interest. A drink could change people's minds. In Mecca, around the years 1511, a government banned coffee. He said it made be lazy and rebellious. He believed coffee helps in replace gossip and trouble. People who drank too much, he said, could forget their prayers. But people loved coffee too much to give it up. They met strictly in small rooms, sharing cups and whispers. For many, coffee was more than a drink. It was freedom. It gave me the energy to think, to question, and to dream. And when coffee reached Europe, it caused even more debate. Some church leaders called it the drink of the devil. They said it came from Muslims' land and before forbidden Christian. But then, something unexpected happened. Pope Clement decided to taste it himself. After his first sip, he smiled and said, "This stem is green, so delicious, but it would be a sin to let only infants drink it." With that, he blessed coffee, and he people cheers. Still, not all like a new drink. In England, King Charles II and closed coffee houses. He said the words full of talkers and troublemakers. But the people protested, and the ban was soon removed. Coffee had won. No law could stop it. It had become a symbol of freedom, of open talk, open thought, and open heart. When coffee was accepted, the world began to change. Everywhere coffee went, it brought new habits, new energy, and new ideas. The small drink started in the mountains of Ethiopia, the hungriest hearts of great cities. In Europe, coffee has become the center of life. They were open to anyone, rich or poor, broker or writer. People pay only 1 penny out of coffee, so they called them penny university because of the price of the cup. You could learn more in the classroom. Inside those coffee houses, people talk about science, art, and philosophy. They share books, argue about politics, and the magics in the future. It was in places like these a great change began. Rebirth newspapers, new inventions, and even revolutions. In London, one coffee house became Lloyd of London, the first great insurance company. Another became the London Stock Exchange. In France, writers and thinkers like Voltaire discussed freedom and reason. And in Vienna, musicians found inspiration over cups of dark coffee. But the biggest change was in morning. Before coffee, people often drank beers while with breakfast. It made them slow and sleepy. After coffee arrived, morning became brighter, faster, and more focused. The world, for the first time, was truly awake. Coffee gave people more than energy. It gave them connection. It turned strangers into the friends and silence into the conversation. It became a part of culture, of work, and of love, and it continues to shape our days, one cup at a time. As the world began to love coffee, something new happened. Coffee started to travel. It crossed oceans, mountains, and empires. What began as a local drink in Ethiopia and Yemen became a global story. The Arabs first kept coffee a secret. They roasted the beans before exports so no one could roast. But soon, other nations went to this treasure too. In the 1600s, the Dutch managed to get a few light plants out of Yemen. They began to grow under a colonists in Java, Sri Lanka, and South America. The French followed. In 1723, a young naval officer named Gabriel Cleo carried the coffee steady from Paris to island Martinique. The journey was long and dangerous. storms, pirates, and thirst. But he kept the plant alive, even sharing his own world with it. From that one seed, millions of coffee trees one day grew across Latin America. Soon, coffee plantations spread across tropical lands, Brazil, Colombia, Indonesia, and Vietnam. And this growth came with a price. Much of the world's workmen enslaved people and poor farmers. Coffee brought wealth to some, but hardship to many. By the 1800s, Brazil became the world's largest coffee producer. Coffee powered its economy. Factories began roasting the green coffee on a large scale. The world wanted coffee, at home, at work, everywhere. In the 20th century, new inventions changed everything again. The espresso machine in Italy created faster, stronger, richer coffee. Later came instant coffee, which made the drink available to sorted workers and busy people everywhere. Coffee had become not just a drink, but a symbol of modern life. Today, more than 70 countries grow coffee. It connects farmers in the tropics to office workers in cities, from Sao Paulo to Senegal. Coffee fuels conversations, art, business, and dreams. It has become one of the strongest bridges between cultures, a symbol cup and uniting the world. Coffee stories is not just about a drink. It is about people, their dreams, their work, and their endless curiosity. From a shepherd and his dancing ghost to monks in prayer, to traders, thinkers, and workers, coffee has touched every kind of life. It began as an accident, but it became a symbol of connection. It helped people stay awake, but it also helped them wake inside, to think, to learn, to create, and to share. Every cup carries centuries of history and the warmth of human hands. Writers have called the furor of the mind. Artists have described ideas blooms like morning light. And maybe this is true. Coffee gives us more than energy. It gives us focus, hope, and rhythm. It is a pause between chaos, creativity. Today, when you sit with your cup in a quiet morning or busy cafe, you are part of this long human story. A story born from curiosity, patience, and the will to stay awake in a sleeping world. From fire and berries to machines and cafes, coffee reminds us of what humans do best. Turn something small, ordinary into something that changes the world. So next time you take a ship, remember this journey. A journey that began with ghosts, crossed oceans, inspired revolutions, and now lives in your hands. Become the story of coffee. It's also the stories of us. Yeah!